Welcome to Effortless EIFS, which is a celebration of you. It's a self-realization, healing, game, play, exploration, dance. It's a deepening into what they call being, self, isness, the causeless okayness, the peace, the love, the presence, the flow that we are. In some traditions, they use this metaphor of the sky and the weather. It's getting to know the sky, getting to abide deeper in that, and as this causeless okayness, this love, this fulfillment that's just intrinsically here. And it's also a welcoming of everything that arises in us, of the weather, of the thoughts, feelings, and sensations, which in the EIFS model we label as parts, anything that arises, any sense of lack or want or preference or aversion. It's a welcoming of those, a celebration of those, a care, a love, an acceptance. And we do this through kind of three views or paths, which are kind of a distillation of looking at a lot of the spiritual paths, the healing paths, and just simplifying it into this effortless EIFS. And when we come together, we move amongst the three of these. So the first one is what's known as the direct path. It's in different traditions. You find it in Advaita Vedanta and Vipassana and Byron Katie, and it's just a resting as the beingness. It's just a coming back, a sinking in, a stepping back into the sky, into whatever, however we know this. For some, it's a sense of presence. For others, it's love, it's connectedness, or it's just awareness. Like, are you aware? Like, you're aware, right? You're aware of these words, you're aware of the sensations that are happening in your body. It's stepping back into that, which we also call riding the bike of being. Riding the bike of being, just like as we learned how to ride a bike, you find that sense of balance, right? So this is a sense of balance as these qualities of beingness. Whatever it is for you, this stillness, this peace, this silence, this okayness, this play, this love, this flow. And as we notice the thoughts, feelings, sensations that start to grab us or blend, we start to tilt, and something just learns, just like riding the bike, it learns to abide, to rest in this balance as these qualities. And once we've got that, once we've got some sense of riding the bike, once we're intimate with and as qualities of beingness, we all know this. This is the presence, the peace, the love, the okayness, the tenderness, the connectedness. However it shows up for you, then we move into the second view, which we sometimes call like the infinite hot tub, Rumi's guest house that just welcomes all the guests, a sense of a birthday party for our parts, for everything that arises in us, or the path of celebration. So this is where we rest as, let's say if we're using the hot tub metaphor, we rest as this hot tub of beingness. However it is for you, as the infinite hot tub, as the peace, the love, the okayness that we are, the spaciousness, the stillness, the tenderness, the connectedness. And as we rest here, right, this is what we would do when we were riding the bike of being. We just rest there as the hot tub, and then with whatever arises in us, whatever thoughts, feelings, sensations, that we in EIFS, we label them as parts. As they arise, it's almost like they arise in the hot tub, and they just get to soak in this beingness that we are. They get to soak in self. This is a sense of just welcoming everything that arises. This is the Rumi's guest house, right? Every morning a new arrival. I can't remember the poem right now, but the Rumi's guest house is a sense of a joy, a meanness, a depression. And whatever arises, whatever parts arise, we welcome and entertain them all. And this is where a lot of the healing occurs, right? Everything that arises in us is just welcomed. And then in this view, we also hear what is being longed for by our parts, by what, oh, I'm longing for acceptance, for care, for connection, for okayness, to be seen, to be heard, to belong. And we notice as we hear that, as we hear the longing of the parts, that what is being longed for might just be evoked in the beingness that welcomes them in what we are. And we also notice, as we notice, this is an effortless practice, right? So there's no doing. The idea is that the system just learns this, and parts are welcomed this way. Everything is welcomed. It's a sense of being welcomed home. And we notice how intimate are we with the parts, with these arising. Some of them, there's a lot of intimacy, and others, sometimes we touch fear, remnants of shame. Something's wrong with me. Any of these kind of young, vulnerable parts, and for those, there might be a real distance from them, because we're doing, there's just a welcoming, and for some, there's a sense of, oh, I'm not ready for this, I just want to be by myself, I want to hide, life's not safe, but you are the safety for them, and that's where the healing just occurs in its own time. And then as we notice all of this in the second view, what happens, and it just happens intermittently for most of us, there's a sense of a glimpse that, wow, nothing is separate from this beingness, from the self, even the parts and their contraction and their want, right? That there's some of this openness in them. Nothing is truly separate from self. This is where we go to the third view, which in the spiritual traditions, they call it the pathless path. Dorothy, you don't need to follow the yellow brick road, you already are home. There's only innocence, beauty, perfection, radiant presence. And so with our parts, as we notice, almost like the openness in the contraction, goes beyond intimacy. And this is where all the non-dual paths, they all open to this. They open to the sense of everything is of this. In EIFS language, is the sense that all is of self. And so we glimpse this, and we've all had experiences of this in nature, and a sunset, and a newborn baby with our beloved. It's the sense of there's a unity that comes when nothing is separate from this. And so we discover this internally through our parts, through this third view, in this pathless path, in this that's beyond intimacy. This all is self as we touch this. And lastly, though this might seem like it's all internal, it's an inside out game, just like that movie, Inside Out 2. I think I got it right. And it's just as we notice, as this healing occurs in our system, as we rest more and more as this beingness, as this love, the external reflects that. And we start to see that, and the beauty as we see the innocence of our parts, right? As we fall in love and welcoming our parts and welcoming these expressions inside us, then eventually that's all we see in the world. We see that more and more, and so it's this beautiful journey inside and out. And I invite you to come join us in these effortless EIFS groups. I put them on 2 to 5 days a week, and they're all free. And we just come together, and then we do this collectively. And so it becomes I'm going to suggest it's even richer to do this in a group than if you did this one-on-one with one of my colleagues or with me. It's not richer than what my colleagues offer, but what I'm saying is there's something about doing this as a group, because what we do is, let's say this Rumi's Guest House, the second view, as we practice welcoming everything that arises in us, we do the same with the others that arise. We welcome their parts, and so it becomes this infinite guest house. Because what I find is it can be a lot easier to welcome others' parts than our own, and if we can truly develop a capacity for welcoming what arises in others and enjoying and seeing the innocence of those and the beauty in what arises, then it's like outside in, then it becomes much easier to do that inside our own system. And so it's all a play. But lastly, there's a premise beneath all of this, that it's all a celebration of you, of me, of all of us, and that there's really no place to go. Some people say we're going from here to here, in that where we start with is the beauty, the radiant presence that you are, that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing that needs to change. So we start there, and then we play from that floor together. I hope this was helpful. I love comments and feedback, because we're all just developing this together. And I think it was Ram Dass that says something about like we're walking each other home. I kind of like it's more just a celebration of what is, celebration of everything that arises in you. Like, what does it look like? What is life like when we truly welcome everything that arises? The man who developed EIFS is Dick Schwartz. He speaks of, he just fell in love with everything that arises within him. Like, what would that be like? And what's life like when we see that outside of us? That's what we're exploring, and that's my own system. That's the richness of exploring, and this is opening more and more to that. I hope this was helpful, and see you later. Bye.